The letter from my wife's lawyer demanded $1,400 a month in alimony for 10 years. It arrived 3 months after I learned that her church tithe had been making truck payments for another man since 2023. By the end of this story, a judge in West Virginia reads 3 years of her spending back to her. That alimony demand turns into $30,000 clawed back out of her half of everything. 3 years of payments out of our checking account while I packed my lunch to save money. She knew I had the proof, and she still signed that demand. How does a tax office clerk hide 3 years of money from a man who reads county records for a living? She did not hide it from me. I just never looked. I am 43. I am a building inspector in West Virginia. I crawl attic spaces and check foundations, and I write down what I find. Every defect, every date, with photos. 14 years married. 1 son, he is 9. My wife works at the county tax office, 12 years at the same window. She takes money all day, records it, balances it to the penny. So when we got married and she said, "I will handle the bills," that made sense. I handed my paycheck over every 2 weeks and never opened a statement. 14 years, I never opened a single statement. Remember that. It started to come apart on an ordinary morning in March. I was at the lumberyard with a cart full of deck boards. My son standing next to me picking out screws. $212 total. Card declined. I ran it again. Declined again. I paid with the $60 in my wallet for half the boards and left the rest on the cart. In the truck, my son asked if we were still building the deck. I told him yes. Then I sat in the driveway for 20 minutes trying to log into our bank account. 14 years, and I did not know the password to the money I earned. I called the bank instead. The lady verified me, apologized, and told me the balance, $41 even, not $4,100. 2 paychecks had gone in that month. I asked her to read me the last 20 transactions. Somewhere around number 12, I stopped hearing her. She said the word transfer. Then she said it again, and 6 more times before the list ran out. Every month, the 3rd and the 17th, $380, then $420, then as the years went on, $600, all going to a second account with only her name on it. I asked how far back the transfers went. She said, the pattern starts in 2023. I thanked her, hung up, and sat there doing the math. Call it 3 years, 2 transfers a month, growing, 70-some transfers. Call it 30 grand. That evening, I asked my wife about the transfers, and I kept my voice level. She did not blink. She said, that is the tithe, and the extra goes to helping my sister stay afloat. We talked about this. We had never talked about it, but she said it so smooth, with her eyes on mine, that for 1 second I doubted my memory. That second scared me more than the $41 did, because her answer came out rehearsed. She had answers ready because she expected the question someday. I stopped asking questions and started documenting. The next morning, I went to the bank in person and pulled statements, not the summary. Every page, every account with my name on it, back to 2022. The teller printed for 40 minutes and charged me $67 in copy fees. The tithe was real once. $150 a month to the church, years of it, right up until February 2023. Then the church payments stop. The transfers to her private account start 17 days later. Bigger amounts, same memo line. She kept typing the word tithe on money that stopped going anywhere near a church. If I ever glanced at the account, and she knew I never did, I would see the same word I had seen for a decade. Her private account had a debit card, and the statements for it came in the mail on paper, filed in a box in the hall closet, labeled by month. 12 years at a counting window. She could not keep money any other way. The charges went to one place over and over, a truck dealership out on 19. Then, once the truck existed, a lender, $410 a month, auto pay, 34 payments. In my kitchen with a highlighter, I traced a truck I had never seen, bought 2 districts over, paid for with my paychecks. The loan was not in her name. She had set the auto pay up through bill pay and labeled it herself, a first initial and a last name that meant nothing to me, D. Hensley. I want you to hold on to that name. I did not know a Hensley. My wife apparently knew one for $410 a month. There were also 2 charges from a motel out past the county line, both from 2023. Both on nights her calendar said inventory training. Months later, Discovery got the registration cards from that motel. 2 names on the card, 1 handwriting. The handwriting was hers. I know the county record system. I use it every day for permits and deeds. Property records are public. So is the tax roll. I typed the name into the county system on my lunch break, and there he was, D. Hensley, a property on 4 acres, 2 districts over. And one more thing made me put my sandwich down. His property taxes had been delinquent in 2022, penalty flags on the account, headed for the courthouse list. Then in March 2023, the flags clear, paid in full, all at once. Guess which office processes delinquent property taxes for this county? Guess which window he would have stood at, needing someone to walk him through a payment plan? Mine is not a big county. There are 4 clerks at that office. One of them had been married to me for 14 years. I did not confront her. I documented. 3 weeks, quiet. I photographed statements and filed them by month in a binder from the supply closet, dated and indexed. The rest came off her debit card statements. A feed store where we keep no animals. A boot shop, men's sizes, $240. A pawn shop out on the 4-lane where somebody bought back a guitar the same week her transfers jumped to $600. 14 restaurant charges, 1 county south, everyone a 2-top. None of them on a night she claimed to work late. I know that because I started matching charges to her calendar, line by line. The calendar she kept on the refrigerator in her own handwriting. I drove past the Hensley property once, with my son's booster seat still in the back. The truck from the loan statements sat in the driveway. Silver, lifted, temporary plates long gone. And at the side of the house, half under a tarp, a 4-wheeler. My wife told me her office won it in a county raffle, then raffled it again for charity. I had helped her load that 4-wheeler into a borrowed trailer 18 months earlier. I remember because I strained my shoulder, and she rubbed it that night and called me her good man. Then I drove home and made spaghetti. She came home at 6 and told me about her day. I listened, nodded, and passed the cheese. One more thing about that 4-wheeler. County raffles, leave records, permits, meeting minutes, disbursements. There was no raffle. Not that year, not the year before, not in any minutes of any meeting of that office. Her statement showed a cash withdrawal for $2,300, dated 1 week before I strained my shoulder loading it. She did not win that machine for charity. She bought it for him with our money and had me load it. The next morning, I called a lawyer, the meanest one my union rep knew. He looked through my binder for 10 minutes without talking. Then he closed it and said 2 things I will never forget. First, he said, "In this state, the court compares fault. What you have here is not a gray area." Second, he said, "Do not say one word to her. Do not move out. And whatever you do, do not touch her. West Virginia keeps fault out of splitting the property. That is the law. She does not lose the house for cheating. But money wasted on an affair is different. The word is dissipation. Marital money spent on a boyfriend is money she owes back to the marriage, dollar for dollar. And alimony in West Virginia, the judge is required to weigh who wrecked the marriage before awarding a dime. Required, not suggested. It is in the statute. My lawyer read it to me out loud, and I made him read it twice. We filed within the month. She was served at 4 in the afternoon at our house while I picked up our son from practice. I had moved my binder, my pay stubs, and my grandfather's rifle to my brother's place the night before. The phone call started at 4:20. I did not answer. The text started at 4:40. I saved everyone and answered none. By 7, she had gone from, "How could you?" to "Let's talk like adults," to "You will regret this," in 14 messages. Message 15 says, "You will be paying me either way. My lawyer says half of everything plus support, so grow up and come home." The same day she was served, before her first text, she had already been to the bank. The joint account showed one withdrawal at 4/31, $1,900, every dollar that was left in it. Our son's field trip check bounced, $35, and the school called me at work. I paid it in cash at the front office, and then I called my lawyer, and he smiled through the phone. He said, "She just testified against herself, and she is too entitled to know it yet." He filed an emergency motion the same week. 3 weeks later, we stood in front of a family court judge for temporary orders. My wife asked the court for $600 a month in temporary support, plus the house, plus her attorney fees. Her lawyer said she was the victim here in a fragile financial position. My lawyer answered with 2 exhibits, the 4/31 withdrawal and page 1 of my spreadsheet. The judge read them, looked at her, and asked one question. "Ma'am, where did the $1,900 go?" She said she needed it for living expenses. He asked where she was living. She said, "With my mother." Temporary support was denied that morning. She was ordered to return half the $1,900 within 10 days. The temporary orders put our son with me 4 nights a week in the house, so his school did not change. That was the first time anyone made her hand money back. It would not be the last. Before that letter, her mother came to my porch. She stood on my steps with a casserole dish. She told me families forgive, and her daughter made a mistake. She told me a good man does not put a mother out of her home over one mistake. I asked her one question. "Did you know about the man out on 19? She looked at the casserole. I said, "Take care," and closed the door, and I watched through the glass while she stood there deciding whether to leave the dish. She left with it. The next demand came by text from my wife. She wrote that she was willing to let me keep the house. Her word, "let," if the support number was fair. Her lawyer had told her she was owed for her best years, 12 years at one window of the tax office, 2 promotions, 3 raises. I was holding the W-2s that proved it. Meanwhile, at that office, she was telling her coworkers that I had abandoned her with nothing. A county this size, that story got back to me in 9 days. From the man who inspects septic permits 2 desks over. I did not answer any of it. I added it to the binder. 2 weeks after the temporary hearing, she came for her things, by appointment, with her mother and a rented trailer. My lawyer's paralegal stood in the driveway holding a clipboard. Everything that left the house went on a list, photographed, both parties initialing each page. She took the stand mixer, the good luggage, and the bedroom television. She reached for my grandmother's cast iron, and the paralegal read the line in the temporary order about separate property out loud twice. The pan stayed. She signed page 4 with a pen stroke that tore the paper. A week after that, the letter from the start of this story arrived from her lawyer on heavy paper. $1,400 a month, half the house, half my pension. Her reasoning in writing was that she had sacrificed her career advancement for the marriage. The sacrifice, apparently, was mine to pay for. The letter never mentioned Hensley. It never mentioned the transfers. Her lawyer did not know. She had hired a man to fight for her money and had not told him where her money went. My lawyer called it Christmas. He drafted our response, attached 14 pages from the binder, and mailed it. Then we waited. It took 6 days for her lawyer to get a new tone. The demand for alimony did not disappear, but suddenly there was an offer to mediate. We said no. She still wanted a judge, right up until the deposition. Depositions are recorded under oath, and my lawyer is not a patient man. I was not in the room, but I have the transcript, and pages 40 to 44 are worth quoting. He asks her about the tithe. She says her faith is private. He asks which church. She names our church. He asks when she last gave money to that church. Long pause, noted in the transcript. He slides over the church's donation records, subpoenaed, showing her giving stopped in February 2023. Another pause. Then he asks about account transfers on the 3rd and 17th of every month for 3 years, and her lawyer calls for a break. The transcript says, off the record, 11 minutes. Whatever happened in that hallway, when they came back, her answers got very short. Yes, she knew Mr. Hensley. Yes, from the tax office. Yes, the account was hers. On the truck payments, she said the money was a loan between friends. My lawyer asked if there was a signed note, a payment schedule, any repayment at all in 3 years. No, no, and no. Her lawyer tried to rebuild the mourning around her career sacrifice. My lawyer let him finish. Then he laid 3 W-2s on the table. Her promotion in 2016, another one in 2021. Her raise the same spring the transfer started. He asked her to point to the sacrifice. The transcript notes another pause. Then he asked about the money one last time, and she said something new. She said, I always intended to pay it back. He asked for one repayment, one transfer, any size, going the other direction in 3 years. Her lawyer objected to the tone. The question stood. The answer was no. He asked one more question. Are you still seeing Mr. Hensley? And under oath, with a court reporter typing, my wife said, we are just friends. Before the final hearing, her own sister gave a sworn statement that the affair had been common knowledge in that family for 2 holidays running. A week after that statement, her side sent a new offer. She would drop the alimony demand, generous of her, if I absorbed the $29,400, and we called the account transfers a private family matter. My answer took one line. We will see you at the hearing. The hearing came the following February, less than a year after the Lumberyard. West Virginia gave me my day. Her lawyer went first and made his speech. 14-year marriage, her contributions to the household, career sacrifice, $1,400 a month. Then my lawyer stood up and did not make a speech. He handed the judge 1 page, my spreadsheet, 69 transfers, dated, totaled, cross-referenced to 69 line items, 69, not 72. She skipped the December 17th transfer, all 3 years, Christmas money, truck payments, 2 motel charges from 2023 she thought were buried, boots, a winch, tires, $29,400 exactly. The judge put on his glasses and read every line. Then he asked her lawyer a single question. Counselor, is your client asking this court to award her support from the man whose income funded this document? Her lawyer said nothing. She testified last, and her lawyer asked her what she deserved. She said, I gave that man 14 years, and I deserve to be taken care of. The judge wrote something down. It is the only time I saw him write while somebody talked. The ruling came from the bench, and the judge did something my lawyer says he has seen twice in 30 years. He read the statute out loud, the same lines my lawyer had read me at his desk a year earlier. The court shall consider and compare the fault or misconduct of either or both of the parties, and the effect of that misconduct as a contributing factor to the deterioration of the marriage. Then he looked up and said, "The court has considered, and the court has compared." Alimony was denied, with the court citing her fault and the statute by number. The affair spending was ruled dissipation of marital assets. All $29,400 of it charged against her share of the split. Her lawyer argued the lost money should come out of both halves. The judge said the law lets him divide unequally when one side did all the spending and he was dividing unequally. The house sold for $209,000, and after the loan, the equity came to $84,000. Her half was $42,000 on paper. The clawback came out of her side first, $42,000 minus the $29,400 minus the $950 the temporary order told her to return, because she never did. She walked away from a 14-year marriage with $11,650 and a court order that spelled out why. She kept her pension. I kept mine. We split custody straight down the middle, and our son sleeps in my new place 4 nights a week. At one of the first exchanges, he asked me from the booster seat why Mom lives at Grandma's. I told him grown folks broke something and he is not the one who has to fix it. He nodded and asked if we could have spaghetti. We had spaghetti. The divorce was final in April. By then, the transfers had been frozen for close to a year. Hensley had covered the truck payments out of his own pocket for a while. Then he stopped. My brother works with a repo man, small county. 2 weeks after my divorce was final, a tow truck went up 19. It took the silver truck off the 4-acre property. Dee Hensley stood on his porch and watched it go. She paid $13,940 into that truck. She does not have the truck, the man, or the alimony. The county moved her off the delinquency window while an ethics review runs its course. She is still at her mother's, back across the county line, and the church got a donation in May, $150 from me in person, in an envelope with no memo line. I built the deck in June. My son picked the screws. The boards from that abandoned cart were still in the Lumberyard system when I went back. I bought them at last year's price. This time, the card went through. See you in the next one.